As far as challenges, I think it's the same challenges as going through an MBA program. Whether you're full time or part time, there's a lot of challenges to juggle a lot of balls and keep a lot of things up in the air at one time. So I wouldn't say those challenges went away, but there's no way I could see that being as impactful if it wasn't a week away, kind of on your own as a group. I just don't think that you would get as much out of it. I before I did the program, I talked to a lot of people who have gone through it as well. And that was really valuable because a lot of people that would say, yes, I'm busy. Yes, I have a lot of things going on. And I would absolutely do the same thing again. It was so worth being able to go off site and take that time to do that. I would say being in the moment. I think that we live in a time where you're almost demanded to multitask. And by multitask, not just doing two things, but it's more like doing four things at once, And so I think to be able to detach, the benefit of detaching allows you to be more present and be in the moment, and kind of everything else that's going on, whether it's work, home life, etc., is able to kind of just take a pause for the time being when you're in those sessions. And again, when you're outside of the sessions, you have a chance to, connect in if you need to. But I think that the benefit was clearly the ability to just be in the present and do one thing really well. That was really an awesome experience.
To be honest, it was a concern of mine as well. I'm a small business owner, so anytime I have to pick up and leave work or the work setting for an extended period of time can sometimes be, a bit of a challenge. But I just embraced it, and the professors did a great job of helping us realize, this is a time for you to focus on you, check out from work for a little bit, check out from family for a little bit, and just live in the moment and in the course among your classmates and the material that we're discussing. And I found that when I embraced that, it made the experience much more rewarding because I wasn't worrying about other things that would take my focus off the course and the self-exploration that I was doing with the material. And it actually really added to the experience and the value of the seminar, the fact that we were all together for 4 or 5 days, getting to know one another, sharing stories, thoughts, and opinions on the material. So the fact that it's a resident course is, I think, an awesome strength of the seminar. It just really brought a lot of focus to the material and the relationships and conversations we were developing and having the whole time. There were less distractions. And, when you're in college or going to any sort of, educational event, you have your phone with you, you're taking phone calls, you leave, you step out on a break, or, in college you had other things going on as well. So you sometimes didn't get that full immersion in the material or among your fellow classmates. And by making it a residential course that, you're there 24/7 for a few days, it brings an experience to your learning that you've likely never had before. So it's hard to describe with words. But when you go through it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And it's going to be such a valuable takeaway for you. And it just enhances the experience of the course that much more.
Well, I think I was probably one of the non-believers coming in thinking, I don't know if I really want to live with all these people. I just want to do my thing and kind of go home at the end of the day. But it kind of ended up being like a mini study abroad almost. The way you bond with people that you live with and the way you get to know people very differently inside and outside of the classroom. The first few classroom sessions, I think, were very different from the last few because when you're living with these people and eating meals all together, you sort of get an insight into really who they are, and that really shows you an insight into why they say what they say and how they think, and you encounter people slightly differently, not so much just as fellow students, but as fellow humans who are also searching for the truth, and I think that's a huge benefit for sure. And I think the other thing is that it is more like an intellectual retreat, and so you're sort of able to get away for a little while of all the worries of home and the to-do lists when you get home and all of that sort of stuff. So in a small way, it kind of gives you the mental space to really hunker down and intensely be present in this experience. I think a big part of how the residential piece impacted the learning was that it did carve out this mental space to be present with those readings and be present with those ideas. One thing that Professor Goodpaster and Buckeye said early on was that once we start a reading, it stays on the table and you can continue to come back to it. When you're sort of living in this environment, it takes on this different characteristic where it's almost like over the entire 5 days, all the readings sort of stay with you in this very literal physical space, and you sort of end up kind of living and breathing the ideas of all of these different readings. And they all do stay on the table in a very, very real way, because sometimes they stayed at our meal tables and we would discuss them over dinner and stuff like that. So I think it makes it less compartmentalized. You know, it's less about being a student and then going home and being a person. It's more about, this is about being a person. Encountering these ideas is with your whole person and with all the facets of your personality, not just the sort of student part.